we can't get Lockie Ellis on, we'll get straight into the previews. So let's talk about game one. It's obviously Thursday night, so tomorrow night we got the Sea Eagles v the
Parramatta
Eels.
Yep.
Apologies. Eels. Now, Smithy, what do you reckon about this match? Because at the moment, Schuster's been named to 5'8", his first game of the year. So Cooper Johns reportedly has been left out of the side with KO Weeks put at 14, which is very interesting in my opinion. And Brad Arthur has stuck with the same team that lost to the Sharkies last week.
Yeah,
Thoughts,
unchanged lineup going into this one. It's first v 16th.
Wow.
I think Manly too good. They've been super impressive through the preseason. Two of their big guns didn't even take the field in the preseason games in Tommy Turbo DCE. But look, they were outstanding. First hit out of the season against the Bulldogs, who weren't great. We all know that. Everyone that's seen that game were a little bit disappointed with the Bulldogs' effort. But I think at home, I think they're going to be too strong for the Eels. Although, you'd like to think that by round 3 we're gonna get the best out of Parramatta. Maybe the news of Brad Arthur extending the contract and all that sort of stuff, it has the boys fired up. But I don't know. But I just think Manly at the moment they're strong. And Schuster, as well as Cooper Johns played in round 1. I think Schuster being back in the footy side is going to make them an even more dangerous team. So I think Manly at home against Para.
Yeah, mate, I'm going to have to agree. I really like what I saw from Manly. I think they're going to be, obviously it's a long season. Disclaimer, yep, round 2. It's only round 2. But I just love what I saw from them. And I love the fact that, Tom Trbojevic was in second gear and they still put on all those points. The Bulldogs, they went on to play well the following week, so it's not like they were playing a Bulldogs that doesn't know how to play.
Yep.
They just outplayed a decent side in the Doggies. My only concern with the Eels, it's all, we all hope that this Eels juggernaut clicks into gear. But, the more I watch footy, the more I realise you look at the defence and how much they've leaked in points. Round 1, leaked 16 points against the Storm. That's okay. It's not too bad. But it was at home. And it was a game they could have won.
Yep.
Round 2, they leaked 30 points at home against the Sharkies.
Yeah.
And again, a game they could have won. And that's really concerning for me. It's not necessarily the attack, it's the defence part of things.
Yeah, and they had a lead, correct me if I'm wrong, but they had a lead early in the game. Did they score the first 2 tries?
Yeah,
against the Sharkies, and the Sharkies found their way back. So again, that would be the concerning thing for Brad Arthur is the leaking of points, and everyone knows it's a well-known fact now that if you want to compete in the competition and you want to be at the pointy end of the ladder, then you need to be strong defensively. It does not matter who you play against in this competition. If you're not on defensively, then you're going to leak points, and it's going to be a struggle for you to win matches. And look, it doesn't get any easier facing Manly, who, as we said before, that DCE, he was nearly the player of the round in round 1. You've got Tommy Trbojevic bringing the ball back from kick returns. Adding Josh Schuster into the side, it just makes them such a lethal attacking footy side.
Knights v the Dolphins, 6 p.m. at McDonald Jones Stadium, Newcastle. Caleb Ponga, Jaden Brayley, Tyson Brazell, Jacob Saifidi are all out. Tyson Gamble starts at 5'8". Phoenix Crossland goes to hooker. Hetherington starts at prop. Brodie Jones starts at second row. Ryan Rivet and Dylan Lucas have been named for their NRL debuts off the bench. Dolphin team news. Cody Nikorima replaces Jeremy Marshall-King at hooker, who is out for 2 weeks due to suspension, and Ray Stone is back on the bench. How do you see this one going, Smithy?
I think the Dolphins can go 3 from 3.
I honestly agree.
Yeah, I think they do. And given Newcastle's situation at the moment, they've got a horror injury list, probably the worst in the competition up there. They're probably worse than Melbourne at the moment. But a lot of big name players out through injury. They are back at home, which is the positive thing for them. But the Dolphins, they will be going down there with so much confidence that they can go and win their 3rd consecutive game.
Yeah, and also like excitement. Not to say that if they were going down to play, I don't know, going up to Suncorp to play Broncos, or that's different because it'd be a derby. But let's say Penrith Panthers. Let's say they were going to play Penrith Panthers.
Yep.
They would be, they'd be excited for sure, but they would also be understanding of the challenge in front of them.
Yeah.
Whereas I think going to Newey, it's like, what an opportunity here to go 3 from 3.
Oh, mate, and there's no doubt. I don't think Wayne Bennett will hide that fact to the players, and I think he may challenge them to say, "Hey, listen, like we've opened up the season at at Suncorp against the Roosters. We're all up for that one big occasion. Then we backed it up. We're playing in front of our home fans. Hey, boys, new challenge for you. How can we perform on the road?" I've got no doubt that will be the message to the players this week to say, righto, we've won 2. And we expected us, not so much victories, but we expected good performances, strong performances from ourselves. How now are we going to perform on the road? That's the new challenge for us. So if they can travel to Newcastle and play, if they can play with the same energy as the way they've done in the first 2 rounds, I think they can come away with a win and be sitting on top of the ladder going into round 4.
Oh, mate, I totally agree. And also, when you look at it from, I know internally they wouldn't be looking like this, but from just a purely fans perspective, getting 3 wins this early, like far out, that takes pressure off in regards to the negative chat of, they're going to finish last or second last. Like, you get these 3 wins out of the way, all of a sudden you go, look, we just need to jag 4 or 5 more and we're good.
Weight off the shoulders.
Massively.
Going into this year, I doubt highly that many people would have thought they would have won 3 games. All year, year, which is, I think, the point you were making can be about. If they win this one, we'll almost, the weight's off the shoulders, the shackles are off. They can just go and enjoy their footy. But they have surprised a lot, and I think there's just some big outs for Newcastle. Saifiti suspended, of course. Brayley being their 9 and Kalen Ponga at the back. Tyson Frizzell just a composed back rower. With plenty of experience, some young men coming in to fill the void. It just might be a little bit too tough for them this week against the Dolphins, who, they've got a good mix of youth and experience, and the old heads, they're just guiding this team around beautifully, like Jesse Bromwich, and we've spoken about Felice Kafusi a lot, but Kenny Bromwich on the other edge, Jared Wallace up front. The GOAT, Mark Nichols, he's coming off the bench, just getting his job done and just, continuing on from those starting forwards, what they've done on the field. And the young blokes, they're just going out there and playing with high energy. I just think it might be a little bit too much for Newey.
Yeah, tough game for Newey, especially after the tough win that they managed to squeeze out last week. So even fatigue-wise, it's a short turnaround. Yes. So relatively short turnaround anyway. So going to be interesting. Now we're going to head to the next game. We've got Titans v. the Storm. Ooh. So we've already done Roosters, Rabbitohs. Yep. Actually, just quickly, who wins, Roosters or Rabbitohs?
I've got the Rabbits winning that one.
I think I went Roosters, so I'll stick with that. Now, Titans v. the Storm. Brian Kelly returns at centre for his first game of the year after serving a suspension from last season. Phil Sanami shifts to the wing. Jojo Fafita drops out, which is surprising. I thought he was playing quite well. Chris Randall replaces Sam Verrills at hooker, who is out. Isaac Fa'asuamalawi, Tino's younger brother, has been named on the bench for his NRL debut. Storm team news. Olam, Coates, Sims, Kamakamitha all return from injury, while Nelson Asafa-Solomona out for 6 to 8 weeks. Youngster Jonah Pezzett has been named on the bench for his NRL debut. Yeah. How do you see this one playing out, mate?
Well, I'm very keen to see the response from the Melbourne Storm after an almighty spray from the coach at full time. Don't know if you've seen that on your TV screens across the weekend, but he gave him one of his best. And he was saving up because I think watching during the match, I think he knew at some point in the match, probably at 26-0, that they were a long shot of winning, and particularly with the way the Bulldogs are playing. And that's what I mean. I had a bit of a laugh, but I'm not taking anything away from the Bulldogs. They were fantastic. I thought their attack was brilliant. They were throwing the ball around, and they were confident with the way that they were using the football and attacking the Storm. I'm interested to see the response that they have this week. And also the young man, Jonah Pezzett, making his debut. I think he's been named on the bench. If you watched last year's was it under-20s State of Origin game, this young man, he absolutely killed it. He represented New South Wales playing in the halves, and he absolutely tore Queensland to shreds.
3 to 4 tries, you're saying?
Yeah. And it led the great Paul Vaughton. I think he was calling that game. He actually mentioned that it's the closest performance he's seen from an individual player. He likened it to like an Andrew Johns.
Wow.
Yeah, how he just absolutely dominated a game individually.
Wow. High praise. A great man himself.
Yeah.
Interesting with the Storm, and we spoke about this stat off air, but they have missed the most tackles of any team in the NRL.
What?
It's
What's going
after
on
2
there?
rounds. Yeah, I mean, very surprising.
Wow.
Look, I'm going to pick the Storm to get the win. Titans, unfortunately, you watched last week and you go, oh, man, like this is the Titans over the last few years. They come out, they look like a top 8 side, and then the next week it go,
Well, can be 12-0 after 34 minutes, and they go into halftime down. What?
Crazy.
Wow, I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it. I thought I seen 12-0. And I thought, well, yeah, the Titans are going to get a good victory away from home here against the Dragons, but wasn't to be.
Oh, mate, I don't know. Like it seems so obvious. Like defense, they just need to sort their defense. The Titans, they can score points. We all know that. So hopefully they can. Hopefully the Storm can bounce back, and it's going to be interesting to see Jonah Pezzett and how he goes because Munster, he's hitting 28 now, 29 now.
Yep.
Around that age. So
27, 28,
maybe in 3 or 4 years, Jonah is the next guy up. Who knows?
And I'll tell you what, he's named on the bench. I'm just looking at the team list here. Named on the bench, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him start in the halves, Kempy.
Okay.
Yep. And Tyron Wishart move to the bench and have Pezzett put that, we'll start in the six position beside Jerome Hughes.
And usually coaches name players like that on the bench to take pressure away from him.
Yeah,
Whereas if he named him at 6,
Yeah.
then he's going to be in every single paper everywhere about, he's the guy to replace Cam Munster, all that kind of stuff. Cowboys versus Warriors, Saturday, 5:30 at Queensland Country Bank Stadium. Scotty Drinkwater and Peter Hiku are both out due to suspension, replaced by Tom Chester. So I think Tom Chester, wouldn't he be making his debut? And Jehamat Shibasaki. Also on the Warriors side, Charles Nicoll-Klukstad and Jackson Ford are both out due to concussion. Tane Tuipuku makes his debut. Apologies if I butchered it. I probably butchered it, so apologies. But he was actually really good in the trials. He makes his debut at fullback. Bunty Afoa starts, and Bailey Sirinen joins the bench. How do you see this match playing out, mate?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great game. Like, you take Scotty Drinkwater but in particular. I know Peter Hiku's out and he's been playing some great footy, but you take Scotty Drinkwater out of this lineup and it brings them back to the pack a little bit. Just like, I know you're a huge fan of Drinky and he provides that X factor for the Cowboys. He can produce, huge plays down in those attacking zones. It brings them back a little bit. I think they would have been extremely disappointed with their loss to the Broncos after starting the way they did. They played a great sort of opening 20 to 30 minutes where they played that power game. Jason Taumalolo in his first I think he played about 26 minutes in his first stint. He ran for over 100 metres in 20 minutes. It was crazy. So if he and the other guys starting in the middle for the Cowboys, Reuben Cotter and Big Jordan McLean, if they can get away to a good start against this Warriors pack, I think they can get the win. I reckon Toddy Payton's been. I reckon he would have had his backup after that loss to the Broncos because they had so many opportunities to win that match, but they let it slip. The Drinkwater sin bidding in the end was the thing that cost them. They got 2 tries scored against them when they were down a man, but I think going back home will be too strong against the Warriors. The Warriors, although I reckon they've been pretty good in the first 2 rounds.
Agree. I think the Warriors, I really like, we have to remember this is rebuilding for Warriors. Whole new coaching system, whole new coach, all new players, a massive clean out. With the Cowboys, I will say, though, the concerning thing, and it's only 2 games, the concerning thing, though, is it seems like a bit of a trend of this second half fade out.
Yeah.
And hopefully, that gets sorted. Because if it doesn't, you're going to have all these games where you're going to be like, going, oh my God, we could have won that. We could have won that.
Yeah. A heap of them through the year. Maybe.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the mindset that the Warriors have to take into this week. It's just say, hey, listen, let's stick with them. Let's just stick with them in the first 40. Even if we can go into the sheds, maybe 6 down or even equal, we will finish over the top of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Just hang in there.
They've got the firepower to do so, mate. And if there's ever an occasion, Kempy, to do it, it's this weekend. Their captain Tohu Harris, he's playing his 200th NRL game, so big milestone for the big man.
He's been incredible this year. Also, like with the Warriors, if you go and watch that Warriors-Roosters game, they could have won that game. They just made some really poor errors
at crucial times.
At crucial times, they'd built all this pressure, won all this field position late in the game, and just didn't capitalise. So it's not like they're not there or thereabouts.
Yeah.
But I think Cowboys get the win. Now, on to Broncos v. the Dragons. Jesse Arthur's replaced Corey Oates on the wing. No changes to the Dragon team that beat the Titans last week. How do you see this one going, mate?
I'm going to back the Broncos in. It's music to your ears. I think they're going to be 3 from 3. Just really impressed with the way they're playing at the moment. They're playing with a lot of enthusiasm and energy. The most pleasing thing for me, though, is their defence. So good. Like they're very hard to score against. And if you're hard to score against, you're hard to beat. It's as simple as that. For the Dragons, though, they're coming off a wonderful victory last week. I thought a lot of their younger guys played extremely well, led beautifully by Ben Hunt again. We had him on the show last week, and he spoke about, just the expectations on the team this year and getting away to a good start. Well, they were ready to go. A bit of a slow start for them, but they made their way back into the game, and they just, as soon as they scored one, it was just floodgates.
Yeah. What I loved about the Dragons was their pack was hunting together. Like they really were working in tandem. And, we often see these games and you look at, some players' stats and you go, oh, well, statistically they were all right, but they lost the game. How'd that happen?
Yeah.
And you watch it and you go, well, it's because they're not working as a pack. They're not hunting together. They're not, getting off the line together. And I thought Dragons did that really well last week. Yeah. Now, the interesting thing with the Broncos is for a team of such young, gifted athletes and, there's much talk about how explosive and everything they are, you're right. It's the grit and defence that is just really impressive. They're currently sitting second in points conceded. And what's interesting is, guess who's still number one even though they've lost 1-1-1?
Who's that?
The Penny Panthers.
Really?
Yeah. So, that's why they're a top-tier club, and hopefully Broncos can continue that run. But I think the Broncos get the job done here. Yep. Look, if the Dragons go out and win and go 2 for 2, talk about silencing the critics.
Yeah. I reckon it's going to be a great game.
Agreed.
Really good game up there in Brizzy.
I really agree. What about Blake Laurie going over for a meaty, the big fella? Hasn't he been great? Hasn't he been fantastic? I thought Little off the bench was really good for the Dragons last week.
Yep.
Look, I cannot wait for this game. And the Broncos, again, we spoke about it last week, but it's about week in, week out. You can't, if they come out and get 30 put on them, it's almost like back to square one again.
Yeah, it wipes their great start to the season and their 2 really good performances.
Yeah, so really interesting to see how this one turns out. We'll get through this quickly. Smithy, Bulldogs, Tigers, how are we looking here?
Well, just going off last week's matches, I think we have, I'm not going to speak for you, mate, but I'm going to tip the Bulldogs. They were super impressive against Melbourne. As I said, any team that can go down to Melbourne and perform that well and get a good victory like that, they're going well. Tigers, not a lot happening for them at the moment, and there's a few changes through this side. Big in, though, John Bateman named in the reserve, so I think he can make a huge difference, but I'm tipping Dogs.
Yeah, I'm tipping Dogs as well. Unfortunately, Tigers just don't look like they're gelling as well as we would have hoped. So I'm going Doggies. What about Raiders Sharks? What an important game for both sides. Raiders are now 0-2.
0-2.
Sharkies just got the win last week, but again, their defence have leaked quite a few points. Really important game. How we see this going?
Yeah, they have 0-2. Tough start for the Raiders. First 2 matches, they're up in Townsville and then at Redcliffe. Played in some pretty sort of tough conditions in the wet last week. They'll be up for a big one, a big return home. Sharkies coming off a nice win. Look, I might go Raiders at home. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going Raiders at home. Although I think, the Sharkies are well and truly favourites. I might go Raiders at home, though.
I'll go Raiders as well. That was our round preview. Thanks to Game Day Squad.